Hi, welcome to Up and About with Peekskill United. News, politics, everything Peekskill. We've got a great show for you tonight. We're filming right now on October 8th. Election Day is 4 weeks away, and we're in the election season. Tonight's show, our first segment, will be the candidates for Common Council, Lauren Brady, Louis Segarra, and Marlon Mahon. That's our first segment. Hi, I'm Bob Sullivan.
Hi, I'm Joe Torres.
Hi, I'm Lauren Brady.
Hi, I'm Louis Segarra.
Hi, I'm Marlon Mahon.
Our first segment, as I mentioned, is a conversation with Lauren Brady, Louis Segarra, and Marlon Mahon, candidates for the Common Council of the City of Peekskill. Before we begin, I just wanted to say that in anticipation of this filming, in anticipation of election season, we invited Mayor Rainey, Ms. Talbot, Ms. McKenzie, and Ms. Riley through their campaign to come on our show as well to have a conversation. In fact, we were going to set it up where the council candidates would be on the same night. We'd show them one after the other with a coin toss deciding who goes first. They declined that invitation. But as we're filming tonight, that invitation's open. If you still want to come on our show and discuss your plans for Peekskill, you're welcome to do that. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys for having us.
4 weeks to Election Day.
As of today.
Yes.
As of today.
That's when I get my first good night's sleep.
Sure.
How many hours? Huh?
So we're looking around on
And
social
actually,
media.
sorry, Bob. It's actually less than 4 weeks, right? Because we have early voting in Peekskill.
That's correct.
Oh, that's right.
Beginning
Sorry,
of the
sorry.
Sunday before. That's right. So, and that's an important thing down at City Hall. You can contact the city clerk's office. I think it goes in alternate days. I think it's 8 to 5 one day, and then it goes later than that. And I think on the weekend before Election Day, it's 12 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. The day before Election Day, there'll be nothing. And they've had meetings and a lot of advertising. And that's an important thing. Sometimes it's not convenient for people to come out on Election Day. But we looked on social media. You guys are out everywhere, knocking on doors. You're going to different events throughout the city. Let me ask you a question. Lauren, start with you. You're going door to door. What are people telling you?
So I'll be honest, one of the first things people talk about, or if we say, what are your, how do you feel about what's going on in Peekskill? I'll be honest, I think they'll agree. They're like, what's wrong with our roads? What's wrong with our sidewalks? For people, when you're talking to them at their door, which is one of our favorite things to do, because you're one-on-one, you're learning exactly what affects them and their family, it's that on-the-ground stuff. They're like, my light outside on the street has been broken and my kids have to come in. So for me, I think that's been one of the top things, It's just really being about being local and on the ground. These families are affected by things that are happening, like their roads, like their sidewalks, like the street lights, like getting their kids to walk to school. And those are the conversations we really love to have because it's really each person has different needs here.
Yep.
And it's on the ground, and we've been able to have those great conversations.
Louis, your impressions of what people are telling you when you go door to door. I know you go together, but you have different ideas or concepts of who's telling you what.
But sometimes we go apart because our schedule sometimes a little rough for us, so we have to go at different times, different places. Sometimes I go with Lauren or with Martin and vice versa. But what I get normally is that people find the city is not as clean as it could be. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of, why are parks not upkept the way they should be? Why is there so much trash around, the main street and the restaurants and just like that? And, the only thing I can tell them is right now we don't have the amount of manpower that we should have at DPW that can really focus on the parks, focus on the streets. And to me, it's a matter of budgetary, working on the budget properly and making sure we have the funds to make sure the DPW isn't depleted. But, once you look under the hood of what's under the car, you really get to know what's in there, how much money you have, and what you can do. They tout a good budget, but if you had a good budget, we wouldn't be depleted with DPW, our police department, and the other necessary services.
Yeah. Marlon, same question.
Yeah, I think for me it's two things that sort of catch my attention when we're having these conversations. Certainly the infrastructure, the conditions of the roads, the cleanliness of the city. But, interestingly enough, I think one of the things that people actually almost take a step back into their houses is when we explain that we're actually running a bipartisan ticket, right? Explaining that we're two Democrats and two Republicans who have a common ground and a common interest and a common love for Peekskill. And we believe that, the fact that we actually get along as individuals, right, and we have really chosen to put party to the side in this, not only the election, but the way we will intend to be a team, right, and represent the city.
Yeah.
The second thing that's striking to me, and I guess I've had some personal opportunities to observe it, is the lack of civility from the civil servants in the city here, in City Hall. So a lot of commentary about what goes on at the council meetings, the interaction, both when it's televised and when it's not televised. So when people go to the City Hall to speak to someone, to get information, to get answers to their questions, just seems to be lacking, if I can put it that way. So I think those are the two things that have really resonated with me.
City Hall, civility, what's the solution if you take office on 1 January and your team?
Well, I think the first thing, Bob, that I personally will take a vested interest in is the employees in City Hall. As everyone knows, I spent a lot of time the past 21 years of my life in working with corporate America, and there's this interesting thing that happens in corporate America in terms of when people leave their companies. People always think they left because they were upset with the company. There's been tremendous amounts of studies done in the past 3 to 5 years that actually show that people don't quit their company, they quit their managers, right? So I truly believe that we do need to spend some time focusing on the employees at City Hall. Because the reality is, they're there much longer than we're gonna be in office, right? Whether the mayor's there for 2 years or a city council person's there for 4 years. I mean, these are their full-time, right, in certain instances, lifelong jobs. So I intend to focus on making sure that they have proper training, that they have the support of the mayor and the council, that we are open to their ideas, because again, they're there every day running the city. I do believe they probably will know more than we do.
Sure.
And you need to unearth, right, that knowledge, right, and really make them and create an environment where they're excited to come to work every day and serve the citizens of Peekskill, just like we're going to serve the citizens of Peekskill if elected into office.
And,
So
and
I really want to
that
focus on
comes with people who have run a payroll, made a budget, done all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And if you look at City Hall right now, we don't have a city engineer. A lot of turnover, even the police department. I mean, I saw a retirement picture of the police department last year. There were 12 or 13 cops that retired.
Right.
We only got 54 on the.
I think it's
on
more
the
than
force.
that, but one thing I know for a fact is that, I know guys that work in DPW, and they'll all tell you there's no money. They're not allowed to spend a dime now unless they call up the controller and get approved to buy parts even for the trucks or whatever, or whatever they need. And more than ever now you hear it. That, everybody's leaving for a reason. They're not leaving, like you said, they're leaving because they're not happy with what's going on the manager side. And even the manager left because he felt he went and asked for a raise, and they were giving everybody else's raise. And he's been there a while. I think he did a great job. And he was asked for a raise, and they never answered his question, so he left. And he had a job somewhere else. Now he's working somewhere else, and it's kind of sad because that's what's going on. And I know they're losing quality people that know how to run the city.
There's nothing wrong with having controls in place, but at the same time, you have to balance that with making sure that the people who are there working every day, right, that they feel that they are
They
valued
appreciate it, sure.
and that they have the tools and the training to do their job.
And they can help us.
Your point with the garbage, I'm going reverse order from your initial statement here. I drive through Peekskill about 10 to 5 every morning to go to the train station, and it's garbage everywhere downtown. It's just all over the place. What's your solution? You take office 1 January.
Well, to go back to the management in the city, one of the things that I keep hearing is that everyone's going to everybody. So instead of there being one focal person going to the city manager and saying, we need to work with this department, we need to improve this, that department there needs these resources, and when we would all get together, talk to the mayor, and then the mayor goes to the city manager and talks to them directly. But right now, everybody at the city council is coming to a person there and saying, well, I need this, I need that, can you get that done? And the poor person doesn't know where to turn. There's only so much time in a day that they have to do their job.
It's called chain of command, is what it's
Yes,
called. And
that's
everything
lacking.
should be directed to the city
City
manager.
manager.
If he falls down on his face,
It's on him,
that's
yes.
his problem.
That's right.
But this stuff where, council people, I emailed the chief, I asked them to do that. They
That's-
shouldn't be ever
they should not be.
talking to the chief. Should
Absolutely.
be talking to the city manager, and the chief should be talking to the city manager.
And that's what it's
then
supposed to-
collectively, that's how it works in your world.
Well,
It
it also
creates
comes back
confusion.
to accountability,
Yeah.
right? Who's accountable?
And it creates a lot of confusion because they're getting mixed messages, getting different directions, and then we don't know who to listen to.
Yeah.
If they don't do it this way, that person's coming down on them. They do it that way. So it comes back to morale. So once someone's getting beat up left and right, at that point they just throw up their hands and say, well, whatever I can do, I'll do, and I won't do anything extra. And that's not the way we do it. That's not the way my company does it. People work with me, always give their extra. I give them an assignment, they get it done. I appreciate them for it because that's what we talked about, how you have to make sure that your staff is appreciated. They know how hard of a job, because you've practically done every job that you need done for your company. And once you see what they put into it, you gotta thank them for it.
Well,
It's not easy to do what they gotta do.
One thing
What
I
about
can say,
garbage?
yeah.
Garbage, that's definitely it's like I always say, we gotta see what that budget's like.
What's
I can say I'm gonna put 10 people in DPW because it's one of the things that I want to do is increase DPW so that we can have the right amount of people working, clean up the streets, the parks, doing all the things they have to do. But if that budget is not what they make it seem to be, it's gonna be little we can do. And we
Well-
have to find other ways because we got to get more people in there. So we have to find other ways to cut back on, to reduce the waste that's probably happening there, and making sure we have the right people, the right amount of people doing the job that we need, providing services for the city.
There was one thing I
Rose.
wanted, before you go to her, one thing I want to say, and I think it's important that you find up at City Hall now, is that being a business myself and Bob, is, City Hall, running the city is like a business. And,
Absolutely.
And, you have to know what you can afford, what you can't afford, how many people you can put out, and you have to know the numbers. And I just feel right now that you don't have that sense right now that's going on at City Hall, that, there's really no true connection on, what budgets, how budgets should be ran and how many people they need. Because, if you look at it now, we have a parks, all right, there's a diamond in the rough for us that everybody comes down to see. And if you walk there, most of the time the grass isn't really cut that good. It looks like, and our parks are expanding. And I think, something like that that has to be considered in the future. And I don't see that happening right now. Same thing with the garbage. All these DPW guys were on when I was there. A lot of them left. A lot of them never got replaced. So they kept a certain number that can't even match what was supposed to be done. And I think that's a
will
big
say
problem.
though, our DPW, they do work really
They
hard.
work hard.
sure.
Don't
They
get me
work
wrong,
really
but they're
hard.
short.
They're
not
short,
at the
their
numbers they're supposed to be,
management,
yeah.
their supervisor, left, they're still trying to put those pieces.
I don't know
This
how
is
they do it.
definitely not a dig
Yeah.
against
No,
the
no, I don't
employees of
wanna-
DPW.
No, the employees are doing what they can. And you
Right.
remember now, if you had 40 employees and you're down to 25,
Yeah. it's
now
a
they're
little different.
doing what 40 should be doing. And meanwhile, you're expanding your base as far as parks and all that other stuff. And they
Well,
can't
not
do it,
only the
you know?
parks, right? We're
Yeah.
also expanding the amount of residents.
So the
that we have
residents
in
are coming
city.
in more.
Right. So
I
what
mean,
is
you
the
have all these
proper
buildings, yeah.
ratio of how many DPW employees do you
To
need
your-
to
And
the
then,
population? of the
and
city?
one thing I noticed is that they're taking the money and really not reinvesting it into the amount of employees we're gonna need, because all these buildings are going up and all this garbage is coming in and more tourists are coming in and, the parks and all that other stuff. And that needs to be addressed. And I'm hoping if you guys do win, that you can address that, because I think that's an important
Well,
thing for the city.
in fairness, the city budget was just released a week ago. And in the city manager's budget letters, he does call for an increase of one parks employee for maintenance of the parks. And also a full-time building inspector.
Sure.
So those things to a certain extent are being addressed, but I guess the question to you, Lauren, as well, and you raised the point about the infrastructure, the roads and all that, is that enough, and where are you gonna get the money from? In your platform, you guys in your platform, you talk about, turning Dupuy Park into the jewel it is, and it's a gorgeous park. How are you gonna do that? That's the question.
Right. So even when you go, you could talk infrastructure, it kind of all can come under, because I think
Sure.
it's what makes the beauty and safety of our city, right?
Yeah.
So as far as, I discussed the streets and whatnot. It's very nice for us to have pretty things, or we want the gazebo to look good, right? But if you have a small pothole in a road and you go, we'll get to that, and do things, other things, that pothole is gonna
They
grow.
get bigger.
So it's really about, I think the bottom line there is having a plan for our future. The comprehensive plan so we have a plan out, for 5 years, we talk about a 5-year, 10-year plan, because I think the money has to be spent on things like that. Because if you have a sidewalk that's breaking, and I'm talking about roads and sidewalks, but it's bigger than that, but it's just where I'm focusing, that are breaking, that's gonna get a lot worse and more expensive. And those are the things people need to get around to our parks and stuff. Again, money, you always need money. Everything costs money, right? You need to have, and so it's making sure the budget and those numbers are put in the right way, and what services, should get that money. That's a beauty between us, is we've all worked in different industries, and so have different views of not only Peekskill and how that works, but how budgets work, how employees should work, how we can maybe help get the streets done while also fixing the gazebo, while helping the park be, a better and safer place.
Yeah, it's a question of assessing needs. We've had, and I don't know whether this is true or not, it hasn't been confirmed by any of the fire department people. We've had 3 major fires over the past several weeks, and at each fire, the fire hydrants didn't work.
Sure.
And so, this is not just a oops, one hydrant didn't work. There seems to be a systemic problem here with the fire hydrants.
So I'm happy you brought that up, because we actually spoke to a lot of people about that this weekend, firefighters. And to me, it's terrifying, because it could be any of us.
Sure, sure.
And that's something that's people's safety,
Needs to
and I
be
think
looked at,
safety has to come first.
Yeah, I just want to add 2 things. So let's go back to the conversation about the cleanliness of the city.
Sure.
So absolutely right. The demand on DPW is greater than they can service right now. We don't have all the money in the world, and the answer is not to raise taxes. So one of the things I've spoken about from the very beginning is how do you form the right partnerships, right, here in the city, to leverage the willing people, right, that we have here in the city, right? There are many organizations today, communities, who go out and clean up on the weekends.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Right?
problem is.
How do we work with the union and DPW and the community to say, listen, we understand that DPW is stressed, but we have citizens here in Peekskill who are willing to go and clean up their neighborhoods. So what can we do, right, to support that? Can we give them the garbage bags? Can we schedule for DPW to come and pick up the garbage once they do it? And I know that has been done,
Sure.
right, in the past couple of years.
Sure.
But how can we grow that, right? Because that has been focused on the riverfront and certain neighborhoods where we have very active and engaged citizens. But how do we take that model and, grow that, right? Scale that to other neighborhoods in the city. So we don't have to raise taxes in order
Right.
to fund DPW. You use the manpower, right, of the citizens who want a beautiful street. Most people here just don't want to complain. But I think, at least from my exposure in the past couple of months, sure, people mostly come forward with complaints, but there are some people who have solutions. And if you listen to them, right, you can figure out, right, where is that common ground?
Happy medium,
Right,
sure.
that City Hall can create an environment that includes people who want to do things. And it's not just about where's the money coming from, or what grant can we do, or how can we raise taxes.
So something, I know for a fact there's so many grants out there. And I feel that the city doesn't utilize that person to go out there and say, we need a fire truck, go get a grant to help us take, curb the cost of what a fire truck would cost. Or we need a grant for this, or, there's so many grants out there that New York has, or federal, or whatever, or New York State, that you can go out and get. And one thing, what used to frustrate me was that we had many opportunities to do that, but nobody ever wanted to, we don't have time for that. Well, we do, because it saves us a lot of money for the taxpayers. And I think that's something that they need to find someone in that city that can do grants for things that you need, that you're looking to get. And
I
Or
think I
organizations that adopt a part of a park or something. I grew up in Buffalo, New York. Beautiful parks, meticulously kept, but a lot of them are adapted by organizations, a garden club, whatever it might be.
Absolutely.
Now, just a couple of years
Is that the
ago,
Louis Segarra Memorial Garden or not Memorial?
but just a few short years ago, we had a surplus budget, a surplus fund. Where did that money go? Why are we not using it to get more DPW?
See, the problem I have right now, and this is just my opinion, is that, what you're hearing from City Hall, one of the things they told you with the Paramount, all right? Paramount, they were doing renovations when they closed down, and it was, no, we're just doing renovations, and it turned out to be, it was a total lie. And the city manager sat behind it and said, no, we're doing and that, I have a problem with that, because if they're lying to you about that, what else are they not telling you the truth about? You know, their budget, and I know for a fact from inside people that say, listen, we know we're in financial trouble, we're on the borderline right now, and you know, and that's going to turn into almost what we were in the past.
What happens is, every day they're worried about getting reelected.
Yeah.
Instead of worrying about taking care of the residents. The residents can handle the truth if you tell them what it is.
Yeah.
But if you're so concerned about getting reelected and you're afraid of giving bad news to the residents that might not get reelected, you're not going to get anything done. And you're going to have transparency
Well,
issues.
there's, I mean, the lack of transparency I find is
It continues to happen
unbelievable.
over and over again.
Even like, no, listen, these people took a lease at the Paramount for 18 years, whatever it was, and then they walked away with no repercussions. There's no legal lawsuits to say, well, you know, you just can't walk away. I mean, if I had an apartment anywhere with a landlord and I said, well, you know what, honey, did 2 months of it, I'm sorry, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
They're gonna say, well, no, you really gotta pay me everything that's left on that lease.
You know, I think the
Yeah.
Paramount, Joe, it's a very
Well, I know
it's
the
a
Paramount.
complicated
It is,
situation
and
that
I agree with you. I
we,
agree with
we
you.
saw the symptoms, or you know, the unfortunate outcome of, you know, a lack of experience in establishing that type of a contract
Well,
to begin with.
I can even go
Right.
further than that, because in all fairness to them, Paramount, in my opinion, is, you know, it's a small venue, and then you try to bring in big names in there that you have to pay a lot of money, and then it doesn't balance off to pay your bills. You know what I mean? So you're bringing in something good, but you're losing somewhere else.
Yeah, no, but
So it doesn't
along the
really-
lines of
and
what
it's-
you were saying, right? So again, what I do professionally, you know, depending upon the size of a contract that I have with the company, right, there would be a failure to perform penalty clause, right?
Thank
So
you, yes,
when
sure.
when you fail to perform, right, 2
You
or
have to pay
3
the
years
penalty, sure.
into an 18-year contract, it's going to cost you.
Well, I believe that was part of their contract. If you read the contract, there was a.
It wasn't
you know,
enforced.
It was not enforced. And that's, you know, listen, I mean, obviously the guy couldn't do what he did, but you know, when you come into something, and even a restaurant, you come to a restaurant and say, I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna take a lease with this restaurant, I'm gonna put a lot of money into it, and then you walk away. You know, what happens? Does the landlord say, listen, well, you still owe me money? You know, there's a penalty for everything you do, and there's none here. And I think that's the lack that you have now in the city.
Speaking of contracts and the Paramount, each of you went on videos on the Honeywell project, the Honeywell contract. You all took issue with not its concept, but how it was brought into play. If you're taking office on 1 January, you're going to live with that Honeywell contract. Now, back on September 23rd, about 2 weeks ago, Gene Friedman was on the COW meeting about the windows that's part of that contract. These are crummy windows. This is a historic building in City Hall. What's the answer to that?
To even start with that, the former mayor spoke, and she said, these are not the type of windows that should be getting.
Exactly.
If every other business has to comply with putting historic windows there, like Senator Bryan had to do, why didn't City Hall have to do it? Like you said, they'll put crappy windows in there, but I think it's okay to get away
But
with it.
that's all part of their energy contract. When the contract,
Well-
you guys will all do contracts for a living.
So-
You
so-
sit down and figure out what you're gonna put in before you borrow $4.2 million.
So it is election season, and we are competing, right? But sometimes you do have to give credit where credit is due.
Oh, sure.
So I think at the last COW where Jean came in,
Yeah.
and she talked about the fact that these were the windows that were in the original contract, and there was a conversation that said, well, let's now go back to them, right, and let's get estimates, right, for windows that are more appropriate to maintain the historic nature of the building, right?
Sure.
So I think, yes, I spoke out at one of the council meetings against the execution of the initiative, not the concept, as you said, right? We do agree with being green and being more energy efficient. And I think, you know, we'll have to see how this plays out going forward. I think this is the first instance where what was originally contracted is being questioned by Jean and her staff in the City Hall. And at least at that one meeting, the council said, yeah, let's go back and let's ask them to do something different. So, you know,
I agree with that, but this is one thing I have.
we'll see.
But there's one question I have. Is listen, there were everybody, I think, former mayors on you know, both sides of the aisle said, listen, take a breath back and just wait. There's no reason why we have to sign tonight or tomorrow. Or let's get this thing straight with the windows. And now what's probably going to happen, if they want to change the windows, oh yeah, they can. But there's going to be, you're going to pay a price for it.
I'm sorry, it was McKenzie who said, well, let's sign the contract, then we'll figure it out
No,
later.
you can't do that.
But you can't do that.
You can't do that.
There's no contract I sign
Okay.
against you that says,
Yeah.
well, this is the amount, then we'll figure everything out later. Because I know it's going to cost me more money down the road.
Well, one thing about that
That's what's
contract,
happening.
one thing about that contract, last year's budget had $700,000 in it for replacement of the windows and air conditioning
Yeah.
at City Hall. And then they went ahead and borrowed $4.2 million to improve
To
that.
improve that.
Where did the $700,000?
Float around.
Well,
No,
That's
where
right.
it went is to tax stabilization. That's how they
That's
kept
right,
it.
yeah.
So
So they're
just to
playing the
go-
cup game, moving the money around.
Yeah.
And this is where I think, you have to be concerned. And I'm just saying, as a former councilman, knowing I was there, and one thing I could say when we were there, we tried to be a little more transparent. And what happened, because there was both opposing sides, we couldn't lie about it. Couldn't say, well, no, that's not true. And we called each other out. And I think, having one slate and one party, you see now that they're doing things behind the doors. They don't have to tell you anything. And then they do tell you something once people find out about it. And I think it's a big problem for the city because either way you want transparency.
Well, that's especially you said we all spoke on camera. So for me, which was one of the number one reasons I decided to run was because people weren't being listened to. And I think the Honeywell contract was another example of that.
Oh, yeah. That was,
I mean, people were shocked at how many people were getting up there and who was getting up there. And it was just, they asked for just a little bit more time.
take a breath.
For that amount of money, I don't think even Councilperson Agudelo, who spoke up against it, just said even just give them, I think it was like 3 weeks. They said
Yep.
if we
Yeah.
could even just look further. But you had professionals who are very familiar with the situation. So we'll say, I don't know everything, but that's why I lean on, these guys have specialties and other things and we work together. So not listening to the people that had that expertise, to me was, that's not their expertise up there per se. And that's what we really have to. If that many people are getting up and saying what is going on and why and this, and you just push it through, that concerns me no matter what it's about.
Yeah, and not having a city engineer.
Yeah, they'd say this is not the right window. But what's disheartening to me is that everybody said take a step back. There's no reason why we have to rush this. Except for the Honeywell guy, well, things will change.
He's a
But
salesperson.
He's a salesman.
He's
That's
gotta
right,
get it
he's a
through.
salesman.
Come on, we're all
they
sold.
also wanted to
He
get
wants some
some
money.
of the
He wants-
repairs
he wants-
done before the
Yeah,
winter
I mean,
season.
honestly, he was in a rush, and you could tell.
Well, that part, yes, there was
Sure,
some
sure.
training
Yeah.
for the
But
Paramount.
Yeah,
yeah.
the Paramount they're working on now.
Yeah, they're all-
The problem is everybody said take a step back, and there was no reason to rush it. No reason you could turn back. You could turn back and say, well, we want to change this in the contract because we kind of looked at it again, and it didn't make sense. Because once you sign that contract and you want to change certain things, you're going to pay a big price for it. You know what I mean? And
That's what it gets you.
And that's what it gets you. So,
I'll even challenge that though, right? I think again, if you have experience with contract negotiations and change orders, not every change in a contract necessarily
But not
will
every
yield
change.
an incremental cost. There are going to be puts and gives, right? So you may find out, right, 6 months, 8 months into this type of a contract, that certain things that you did sign up for initially, you don't want to do anymore. So you can offset that cost, right, by doing something else. So again, but you have to have the
you have to know,
experience.
experience,
and
and
know
you
how
have to
to
know what the
negotiate
contract
that.
says, but you can't do changes.
Somebody's got some experience over here.
Pays the bills.
Another contract question. Yesterday, the school board had their a bond issue, which just crushed it, passed overwhelmingly. In your platform, you talk about partnerships maximizing our children's full potential in the school district. What type of partnerships do you envision if you're elected to the council? What can the city do to enhance the quality of the school system?
So, do we all ready to go?
We'll let you go first.
Yeah, you're on that one.
Well, as we know, the school board and the city council, so they're two separate entities,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So we can't make decisions for the school.
Absolutely.
So that partnership is a very strong and important word there. It's making sure that we come together. When you have a school district that succeeds, you have a city that succeeds.
Exactly.
So I'm a very proud graduate of Peekskill High School. So I just spoke on the bonds. These projects to me are very exciting. Now we do have some questions on some of the building stuff. I'm very happy that they passed, this first part passed though. I was at the town hall and there's parents that are very excited. Students spoke, right? that's the number one thing for me, I think, is engaging the parents as well as the students to get the different perspectives. What are they getting? What are they lacking? Our superintendent now is amazing. Dr. Mauricio has been working very closely, with the local community, with the local businesses to make sure we're all one. Because again, I can't say it enough, when your school district succeeds, the city succeeds.
sure.
And we need to make sure, our youth are the future of Peekskill.
That's right.
So again, there's just many ways to continue to bring that partnership together and involve the parents and the kids and bringing together everybody to hear what they want and need and what they want for their future.
And I know there's a lot of the material we do for the show. We scrub social media, and that's how we come up with our topics, as Louis knows well. And one of the topics was the issue of the sale price for the garage,
Because
the firehouse.
Well, you're paying for it twice.
And so, but that having said, we are where we are. The bond passed, and that's the end of it. So the city gets the $350.
No, not the end of it though. So, I mean, and I don't want to talk to you, I'll let them, it's not, when the bond passed, and I think that was important, like for myself, I am concerned about that price,
Yep.
but I didn't want that to affect the bond, because that doesn't seal the deal. They can,
Yep.
the city can still fix that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I spoke up at the council meeting questioning whether or not the citizens would be paying twice for the building, the first time through property tax, the
Yeah.
second time through school tax. The answer that was given, I didn't get to attend the actual public meeting at the high school when Dr. Mauricio and his staff presented, but my understanding from speaking with Vinny that evening was that the majority of the funding, right, will be subsidized by the state. Right, I think it was something like 85%.
Yeah.
So, let's see what happens.
Yeah,
right?
but that's the funding of the construction portion. The purchase of the firehouse, though, comes out of the unrestricted reserve fund of the school
Which
district.
is
Although
part of
most of
the
that is still
school
funded
tax.
by it's funded mostly by the state.
State.
Yeah, so
We're still paying the taxes anyway.
Yeah, but-
Yeah, of course.
But-
We're paying again for it, something that we already own.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I
concept is
think
good.
we all support, right, improving the facilities of the schools here in Peekskill. Improving your school system, right, is a multifaceted
Well, I think it's
endeavor,
important.
right?
Yes.
It's the facilities, it's the teachers, part of it is the kids, right? I mean,
Well, the reality
so
is-
a little bit has to be done, across the board, and then you'll start
Reality
seeing
is
some improvements.
that, if your schools do well, and, a lot of people didn't move to Peekskill because of schools. That was one, you always ask people, the schools aren't that good. But if you have a great school, the city will probably blow.
But it's also instilling pride in the children. So when you give them a beautiful building
Right.
to go into,
Yes.
a beautiful field to play in, they're gonna feel more prideful. They're gonna want, probably, I'm gonna get up, I wanna go to school, I wanna go
Right.
to the gym, and I saw some of the stuff he's doing, so he's bringing a college atmosphere to our high school.
Absolutely.
So it really gets them ready for the next level.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great thing, that Mauricio has the right plan, needs some time to put it
gonna
across,
take
and
a
everyone
few years.
understand.
I mean, a few
But we
years, but-
finally got someone who understands what the city needs and how to get there, which is
one of the last topics, and we're getting the Ubers off stage here, or waving at us.
Waving.
One of the topics, and you were involved in this while on our show, Dunbar Heights, and some of the issues in public housing. Again, like the school district, that's a separate entity, the Public Housing Authority. In your platform, again, you suggest that you're endeavoring to make improvements to Dunbar Heights and the housing, make it better to live in public housing. How are you going to do that?
So I think the first thing is, the house, it's a little different because the school board, now people are voting for those individuals.
Yep.
It's making sure for the housing authority, we have the right qualified people there that are leading.
And the board, yeah.
Yes,
And the board.
that are leading and that people can really depend on. That goes across for many boards, but that's why it makes it different from the school board. But, there is we have more control over that board in regards to who is on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important to make sure that qualified people are there.
I agree with you. I think it's very important that, people can relate to what the people are going through in both of those buildings, whether it's Dunbar Heights or Bowman Towers, and they can relate to them. If you don't have, that there, and these people are just showing up there because they were put there by one of their friends, and their friends is somebody that's connected to the mayor.
Yeah, so I don't want to be adversarial and nitpick, but I don't know if you need to be able to relate more so than you need to be able to empathize.
Yes.
Well,
Right.
empathize and relate.
Yes.
And qualification is one part of it, but I really think that whoever sits on that board needs to be able to empathize with the citizens that live in Dunbar Heights and Bowman Towers and the other developments like that, as well as see themselves as advocates for those people, right? So
Well,
that
that's
when
what I'm saying.
something goes wrong, like they feel personally responsible that they need to do everything within
They
their
can,
power
right.
and reach to help those people.
Well, that's why I say relate to them in the sense that they know what's going on.
Right.
And they feel that
They
they
feel
need
for
something.
them,
That's
yeah.
right.
It's called the Voices of Dunbar for a reason, because they're not being listened to.
Yeah.
And that's why they create the Voices of Dunbar, so they can be able to put out their voices and be heard and let people know what's going on. When we went over there, we were, brought in with open arms. People wanted to tell us their story because they were tired of, they have almost no hope because they're constantly treated a certain way. They want dignity, they want respect. They want their properties and their homes being repaired and maintained properly. Too many times we've spoken to people, I've got this mold growing there, my husband's sick, my daughter's sick,
They don't do anything.
and nothing gets done. It's just a constant, well, we'll get to it. Like, that's not how you treat
Well, that's
anybody.
They feel like they're
And more so.
second-class citizens when they
Because
live
again, it's
there.
like a business. It's real estate. It's real estate. It's a
Yeah.
tough real estate parcel to manage.
We went
but it's
around
real estate.
and we saw smoking sections up there, but no kids' playgrounds.
Yeah.
Where the playground was now,
Listen,
yes.
yeah,
where
the
they have them
smoking
smoked.
section.
Dunbar Heights, right, is not the only
Correct.
housing facility of its kind in the United States.
No,
Sure.
no,
So
no,
I
no.
think we need
Or in
to,
Peekskill.
again, when I talk about being able to advocate for these people, I think we need to look outside of Peekskill, right? Like, who's doing this well?
Well, it's
Right.
federal. I mean, that's a problem.
But
I
Well,
don't know
it's
if it's a
federally
problem.
funded,
I
but
think-
it's run
I
by
think
the
it's
housing
run
authority.
by the
Run by the
State
housing
agencies.
authority, yes.
Let's
State
figure out how to
agencies.
do it.
There are housing authorities that do work. It's all about the management
Yeah, sure.
of who's running it and working with the people who live there. Like I said, if you tell them the truth, if you say, we don't have what it's meant to do everything one time, but this is our 3-year plan, this is
Then
how
I'll
we're gonna get
understand,
there,
sure.
and we'll adjust it as we go along because we know some things might not match what we have here. People listen to you and they'll work with you and understand what you're trying to do.
Agreed.
giving them something attainable.
Absolutely.
And beliefs.
One thing, I'm
Treat them with
hoping
respect.
Yes.
that if you guys do get in, that, you come through and say what you're gonna do. Because if you don't, I think me and Bob will come after you and we'll say, listen, we thought you got that.
Well, we don't want that, so we'll do as best we can to do our jobs.
Maybe that's our job,
Awesome.
make sure
Well,
that
again,
we call it
a
right.
quick roundup. We're getting the signal off stage here.
Sure.
You're taking office January 1st. What's the first initiative you bring to the Common Council?
I think the first thing, we touched on it earlier, was City Hall. I think City Hall is our #1 spot. Everything feeds from there. Making sure we have the correct qualified staff and the management, everything is being followed well. And from there, I think everything kind of can flow better from there if we fix from there. So I think that's my #1 for sure.
#1 initiative.
Give me the budget, give me the infrastructure, and give me the way to green this city way past what they're doing right now. We're so far behind.
Marlon, first initiative.
First initiative, I always focus on people, right? If you can get people behind you, if you can instill in them hope and let them know that they have a leadership that will support their ideas and then take that to the next level, I believe that any organization, including City Hall, because I do look at most things as a business, will be able to overcome sort of the situation that it's in now and has been over the past couple of months and really start to excel and refocus on providing services to the citizens of Peekskill.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on. Great conversation. Another chapter to be written.
Yeah, good luck on your elections and hopefully you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.